Can the height of a ceiling or the size of a room impact how an audience receives your message you deliver on stage as a public speaker? This might seem like a crazy idea, but I recently had the chance to interview Shawn Kanungo, who is one of the greatest public speakers, keynote speakers in Canada, and you'll be surprised at what Shawn had to say about how a room environment can actually impact the speech you give. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and my YouTube channel is all about helping you become a more impactful communicator. If that's a goal of yours, whether it's public speaking, whether it's day-to-day communication with people, maybe it's even social media tips and advice, click on that subscribe button. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other video content. And hey, we're on this journey together to become better public speakers, better communicators, and I'd be stoked if you join me for the ride. So you might be wondering why on earth I interviewed one of Canada's greatest keynote speakers, and it was part of a course that I recently delivered on Udemy, a public speaking course called Mastering the 5 Essentials of Public Speaking. And this is the most comprehensive and organized content I've ever put together. All of my videos or recent videos will link to that course. So if you are interested in improving your public speaking skills, click on that link. Udemy always has deals on these courses, so I'm sure you'll find a great discount, a great price for the course. Check that out. But today's video, I'm going to give you that special piece of advice that Shawn talked about, which has to do with the layout of a room and how it can impact you as a public speaker. In my conversation with Shawn, he told me that the second he walks into a room, whatever the vibe is of the room, even if there's nobody in there, he can usually tell right away if he has a higher probability or a lower probability of that speech being successful. And I want to jump right to that clip with Shawn so you can hear it from him directly on how room size impacts him as a speaker.
It's funny because like now I can go in a room and I know exactly how it's going to go. You know it's when it's going to be a difficult one. You know when it's going to be, oh, this is easy. I'm going to smoke this.
What's that based
Uh,
on?
it's based on a whole number of different factors. Number one, it's I look at the room. So if the room has high ceilings, if it's large with very few people in it, or it's large and everybody's spaced out, and the energy is, I guess, can dissipate through the ether. That's number one. Number two, it's the makeup of the room. If you don't have a diverse group, you have a homogeneous group, old white males, old executives, it's going to be harder because they have a lot more groupthink, especially in a senior environment. You don't want to laugh at something that might be dumb, or you may not want to entertain something that might look dumb because you're looking at your peers. So in a very diverse group, you're going to have a easier time. And so, just little things as well in terms of stage setup, but really at the end of the day, it comes back to the room and the audience. Those are two things that I definitely look at and see if I'm going to have a good day. And, so it doesn't change how you do the presentation in my mind. It's just understanding that you're not going to get the energy back, or you're not going to get the laughs, or you're not going to get the head nods, but just understand that it still might be resonating, but don't get thrown off by the feedback or if it doesn't come through. That's the one thing that I've learned.
So Shawn brought up a few interesting points in that little snippet of the conversation. But what does that all mean? Does that mean if you walk into a large room with a bunch of middle-aged white dudes that you are destined to fail your speech? No, not necessarily. Although it may mean that it might be more difficult to win them over, but let's dissect what Shawn talked about in that interview. I think the fact that Shawn acknowledged that the size and the feel of a room can impact whether the audience is likely to respond as easily, that is a very valid point. So how do you give yourself the best chance of success if that room layout is very spread out, high ceilings, some of the things that Shawn say make it harder to win over your audience? The first tip is to be aware of it. If you have the opportunity wherever you're delivering a speech to get to that venue a little bit early, ideally before anyone else has arrived there, that's the perfect situation. But even if there are some people there, I always love to go into the room a bit early and take some time standing on stage. I like to physically stand on that stage to look out at the audience, even if it's empty chairs or a couple sound technicians in the back. I like to just be up there. I'll even ask the audio visual team to turn on the house lights, because that's something that tends to be very challenging when you're speaking on stage. They want to light up the presenter, but those lights are almost blinding. I want to be familiar with them. I want to feel that blinding effect, because when it happens for the first time and you're in front of a large group of people, that has the ability to throw you off and to create a little bit of stage fright. I'd much rather in advance go there, have a mic sound check, know what my voice is going to sound like, know what the lights are like. That is really helpful. But even if you don't have the opportunity or the luxury of having all of those professional sound and lighting adjustments, and maybe it's just a big room and you're delivering a speech to a few hundred people or 50 people, it's still nice to stand in front of the room and understand the layout and what everything looks like. It gives you that comfort, because now when you're called up to the front of the group or on stage, it's not something you're doing for the first time. You've already been there, you've stood there, you've looked out at the room, and that feeling of familiarity is going to help you adjust and help you deliver your content as effectively as possible. If you're delivering a speech in one of those dreaded big rooms with high ceilings that Shawn alluded to, ensure that your vocal variety is strong, is powerful, is commanding, especially the loud version of it. I've had the challenge of delivering some speeches in environments where people were mingling and I had some of the room's attention, but not all of them. And there was a lot of background noise. And my voice had to almost be at a yell as I was trying to gain people's attention. And that was just the median level. If I wanted to really get their attention, I had to get even louder. And then bringing my voice down was almost just a normal level amount for a usual situation, but that baseline had to be raised. And that's something you may want to keep in mind, is that if you are delivering in a really big room, be prepared to be loud, be commanding, because the more confident you are on stage, the feeling like you belong there and that this speech is something that everyone's going to benefit from and you have no doubt about it, people will feed off of that confidence. They'll feed off of your loud vocal range, and that has a better chance of them paying attention to your speech and actually getting value from it. On the flip side, if the room is really small and intimate, you may have a better chance of success, but sometimes that's even more intimidating for you, the public speaker, because your audience is so close. They're within a couple of feet from where you're standing. And I personally, sometimes I get more nervous delivering speeches in front of small, intimate audiences than I do in front of large crowds standing on a stage. But you can try implementing vocal variety in the reverse way, bringing your voice down. If you have a small space and you have the luxury of everyone's attention, instead of just getting loud and using a vocal range that doesn't really fit the environment, you can slow down your speech. You can take longer pauses in between sentences. And you can lower the volume of your voice. And just like raising your voice in that big room, lowering your voice in a small room has an equal crazy effect of bringing the audience's attention in, because it's a change to the norm. It's a disruption, but it fits the environment of that intimate setting, and you can still draw your audience in very effectively by lowering your vocal variety. If the crowd is rigid, and Shawn talked a little bit about this, sometimes you get employees or that group think where they're maybe nervous about what other people might think if they react a certain way, or if let's say their boss isn't laughing, then they're hesitant to laugh because what is that person going to think of them if they're doing something different. That is a reality that sometimes happens depending on the dynamic of the audience you're speaking to. One way to help get around this, or to get everybody doing something, is to encourage audience or participation. Maybe that is getting everyone to stand up. Maybe it's, before you present, getting them to shake hands with at least 3 people sitting around them. And that action that everybody does at the same time, everyone participates, where it almost looks silly if they don't participate because everyone else is doing it. But it has the opportunity to loosen up, relax your audience, get everyone in a more laid back fashion. Because if people see other people interacting and engaging with whatever you, the speaker, ask them to do, they're going to be more willing to do it. And then that sets the tone. You've changed the energy up, and now you can deliver your speech, and you have a better probability of the audience taking in the information that you want to deliver. A final tip I have for winning over an audience in a difficult environment, or a big room, or whatever the situation is, high ceilings like Shawn was talking about, is to use humor. Once an audience laughs, especially collectively, everyone is laughing, they will collectively relax as well. And you, the speaker, will relax once you hear your audience laughing. Those of you who are friends of the channel, subscribers, you know I talk about humor on pretty much every video, because I think it's one of the most essential pieces of public speaking. But in those difficult environment situations, the quickest way to win over your audience is to use humor and try to sprinkle it throughout your speech often. The other thing is to not be afraid to pause. So when you say something that's funny, say it and then just wait. And sometimes give a little bit of a look to your audience, like try to make some of that eye contact, raise an eyebrow, and you'd be surprised, once there's a little bit of laughter, it's like the floodgates, because that becomes contagious. And once a few people are laughing, more people will start laughing, and that laughter builds and builds and builds from there. And the earlier you can cause that to happen, the more success you're going to have with your speech. Humor is an essential ingredient for winning over an audience when you are in a big room, and as Shawn put it, with those high ceilings, that is a difficult environment to present in. I hope my pieces of advice mixed with Shawn Kanungo's wisdom, which by the way was such a treat. Shawn is a phenomenal public speaker. Definitely check him out on social media, and he has an amazing YouTube channel where he talks about the importance of disruption and innovation. I'm a huge fan of Shawn's, and interviewing him for my course was one of the most insightful things. I learned so much in that conversation. So a huge thank you to Shawn Kanungo for allowing me to interview him about something he does so well, which is public speaking. And I sincerely hope that this video brought you a little bit of value. If it did, please subscribe to my channel. Every subscriber helps me grow this channel and bring you more awesome video content about how to become a more impactful communicator. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the next. People are more scared of public speaking than they are of dying. Is it just me, or is that wrong? Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and I am passionate about impactful communication. My YouTube channel has helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their public speaking skills, and I am thrilled to release my first ever course, which has taken my decade of learning about how to become a better public speaker and boiled it down to this theme of mastering the 5 essentials of public speaking. I know for a fact that if you can dial in these 5 elements and perfect them, you are going to be a phenomenal public speaker, head and shoulders above the rest, just by being aware of these things. By taking the time to digest the information in this course, practice it, and then put it to action through your speeches, you are going to become a better public speaker. As a bonus in this course, I sit down with the world's greatest freestyle rapper, Harry Mack, and one of the greatest keynote speakers in the world, Shawn Kanungo, and I get their tips firsthand of what makes them incredible at what they do. If you agree that public speaking definitely should not be scarier than dying, sign up for my course. You won't regret it.